Hello everyone, Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I'm just testing out a new recording device. I won't always be recording on this, but I thought I'd give it a shot because it boasts of the camera that it has. So I thought, why not? You can't get as good a view of the cards, but bear with me, I'm working on that. Today I wanted to look at John Bolton's book and also the question that I just discussed with you before around voter suppression. I looked at a poll this morning from The Economist, a very reputable publication, and they looked at who would take the Electoral College, and they are predicting as of this moment that Joe Biden will take the Electoral College. So if I can, I'll put a link. There's no paywall, I don't think, on that. If I can, I'll put a link to it at the bottom of this reading. So this is just bearing out the feeling that readers and have had that Trump's presidency is on the wane. I watched Glenn Kirshner. I do subscribe to him. He is a former attorney, US attorney, and very, very knowledgeable, has been from day one. I've been following him on Twitter for a number of years, but he is on YouTube for those that haven't seen him yet. Glenn Kirshner. He, as I said, a US attorney, former US attorney, very, very knowledgeable on all things connected with the law and the Department of Justice. He does have a very interesting video out which talks about three of the executives or the higher ranked personnel at the Department of Justice, all bar and Trump appointees, all who have aided and abetted in one way or another, including getting Roger Stone a lighter sentence, the Flynn, getting the charges against Flynn dropped, and it just goes on and on. Well, these three appointees have resigned and will be leaving the Department of Justice. Glenn Kirshner speculates that they're trying to distance themselves now they know that Trump is unlikely to win the 3rd of November 2020 election. So on that, I do feel when I look at The Economist posting those sorts of stories, I do get that if voter turnout is overwhelming, it doesn't matter what the GOP or Russia or China or whoever or Trump does, this election is not theirs. There will be this change of government. But first, let's look at John Bolton's book. When I asked Spirit about John Bolton's book, I got the impression that this would be one of a series of nails, if you like, even though that's not a nice way to put it, nails in Trump's coffin as we move closer and closer to the election. This is just one of many. There have been many in the past, many turning points. There are always choices and turning points in any situation, in anyone's life, where if we make a certain choice, it leads to change. Way back then, Mueller and his team, and in fact, one of his prosecuting lawyers, who is still, I think, working at the Department of Justice, will appear before the Jerry Nadler's, the House committee. I think it is within the next week, but I'll check on that because I want to read on that. He was the one that asked to be taken off the Stone case after Bill Barr got Stone a lighter sentence. So lots of things happening, lots of, shall we just say, rats deserting a sinking ship. Lots of brave and patriotic choices being made that change the course of events. Is John Bolton one of them? No. Well, yes and no. No, in that he had his opportunity to come forward during the Trump impeachment. Would it have made much difference to the Republican vote? No. They would have run a smear campaign on Bolton and they would have voted in the same way. However, Bolton would then rightly be able to say, I'm a patriot, which I don't think he can do at the moment. Now, on the other hand, his book is explosive. Will it be published? You're going to ask me. Of course it will, because it already has been. There are hundreds, thousands of copies, tens of thousands of copies already in warehouses, or the New York Times already has a copy, already has done a story. There's very little that Bill Barr and Donald Trump can do to stop the publication of this book because it is already out there. What sort of damage will it do? Of course, one of the most explosive claims in that book is that Donald Trump asked China to help him win the election in 2020 by buying goods from Midwestern farmers so that he could shore up the votes in that area. Again, one has to wonder about his trade tariffs, what all of that was designed for. Bolton is claiming that most of the decisions Trump made were to benefit his re-election in 2020. That's how he got elected with foreign help. That's how he wanted to get re-elected in 2020. And of course, we can see in hindsight that is not, it's just not going to, it hasn't worked. So let's take a look at Bolton's book. Before I go any further, let's have a look at John Bolton's book. Again, one of a series of bombshell things that are coming out. I read on Mary Trump's book coming out, I think I read September. Viewers are saying it might even be out in July. There's more coming from the Supreme Court. It's almost like a tide has turned and there's little that Trump can do to hold that back. All right, so let's have a look. Show me, will John Bolton's, he is a seasoned Republican, will John Bolton's book make a difference? Will it turn Republicans against Trump? What will it show? I think one of the biggest things I feel is that it shows his incompetence. And it's a non-negotiable thing. I think it will, by the time everyone reads that book, it's like non-negotiable. This is an incompetent president. So show me John Bolton's book, Spirit. Show me John Bolton's book. So we've got the Emperor in as the signifier card. As I said, I'm using my Cosmic Tarot. It is a new deck, so I'm giving it a trial. So we've got the Emperor as one of the signifier cards. That's the president. Challenging that is Judgment, and I do really like it when I get these cards, because what Judgment is it is a karmic card, but it's also signaling the end of Trump's presidency, something that is coming to an inevitable closure. When things come to an inevitable closure, when I see the Judgment card, which is really people sinking in the desert here, it's something that wasn't in our best interest, that it's almost like the universe's way of saying you can't sit in that situation forever. It has to come to some kind of end. So the Emperor, the presidency, is coming to a close. All right, Judgment. The other aspect of Judgment, of course, is just that we are judging. We are judging and we are bringing it to a closure. And that is why high officials or officials appointed by Barr and Trump in the DOJ are resigning. They're leaving the sinking ship. So the Seven of Pentacles is the foundation of the reading. It's going to, the Seven of Pentacles is review. It's like at a very deep level, even though John Bolton had his chance, in terms of appearing before Congress, what his book is going to do is it's quite serious. The way, I haven't seen the book, but I am just getting an intuition that it is worded in such a way or brought forward in such a way, I guess because of Bolton's background and length of time in government, it's brought forward in such a way that it will actually cause people to review. And this person has their head down and they're examining what has not produced growth, what hasn't yielded, what has been lost. It will cause people to think what has been lost. And this is why the tide is turning against Trump, because people are actually, I know it's glib to say people are woke, But it is that. It's there's just no more illusion to be had. Because in the past, the tower is in the past position. The tower has hit pretty hard. It's not just America, it's hit the world. I think another, in the New York Times article, another of the claims in John Bolton's book is that Trump came very close to pulling out of NATO. Very, very close. So all the things that we were shocked about, that we railed against, almost became a reality. Had it not been for those people who made their choices back then and took action. The voter in 2018 giving the House to the voting Democratic Party into the House as a check and a balance. That was a very big turning point. The Mueller investigation, unsung hero, another big turning point. The whistleblower that came forward with the Ukraine matter that led to Trump's impeachment, another turning point. All the people that have come forward, another turning point. The media, these are all things that have led to really uncovering an abuse of power. So what is crowning this reading, what Bolton's book again will highlight, is this incredible abuse of power. This is not power that benefited the American people, nor the world. We are the people that have been strung out, left in the desert. This is what Trump has done. You know, I would be very surprised if, the crowds that I saw protesting in Washington at the White House. I do feel there'll be more of that at that fence, and they're protesting against Trump. The Four of Pentacles in the immediate future. This is insecurity around money, but I do feel that now the DOJ, again, one of Trump Barr's appointees, has launched this action to try and get that book stopped. It could be held up in some way in the immediate future. But again, publication, we already know what's in it, and we will know more. But this is talking about negotiations still between Bolton, Simon & Schuster's legal counsel, and Trump, and perhaps a judge coming in there. That's interesting. Or it could also be Trump very insecure and trying to hold back the information on what? The abuse of power. Let's have a look at the here and now, the Three of Pentacles. This is coming together, working as a team, trying to build something, but I do also feel this is the legal battle as well. But the atmosphere around is the Hermit card. So this is, again, this Virgo energy, this examining the detail. So I feel that we've got these two cards talk about what is going on at the moment. Aaron, what is his name? Zelensky, the Mueller prosecutor, appearing before the House. John Bolton's book, Mary Trump's book. It is causing a very deep introspection. How did this happen? How could we not have stopped it? It's really the foundation of the reading. People are now, it's a given. This abuse of power is a given. And people are now, yes, they're going to be voting this president out, but they're also turning their thoughts to who do we need to hold accountable? How are we going to hold people accountable for what's happened? And what do we need to do to stop this happening again? So the Queen of Pentacles in the hopes and the fears position. Queen of Pentacles always comes through likely in this position, because it is my card that represents the economy and to a certain extent, your national security. So again, so much foreign. Bolton's book talks about so much as he was with Trump through all of that time, so much abuse that compromised not only your national security, but security around the world generally. This incompetent president, this president who was only seeking every decision he made, seeking to benefit himself. But this gross incompetence, this is what the book is going to bring forward. This is what it's going to show. The Wheel of Fortune in the outcome position, another karmic card. When I see Judgment and the Wheel of Fortune in the one spread, I know that we're in for a shift. Regardless of, Bolton having his chance, nevertheless, this book is going to be just another wake-up call for everyone because of the detail that is in it. We've got the Prince of Swords because of the truth that's in it. And the Five of Cups, we've got loss because of the loss. So in some way, Bolton's book is going to highlight at a very deep level, I feel, these three things. So there's review. How did this happen? How did we get here? Introspection and reflection. And also the light at the end of the tunnel, but also this overwhelming loss here. Of course, once you've got that kind of information, that very detailed information, I think Bolton is a Scorpio. Is he a Scorpio? But I'm just feeling a lot of detail, a lot of this Virgo energy there as well. I'll have a look at his chart if I've got time. Underneath the pack, we have the Princess of Swords. Again, the prince and princess. This is harsh truths coming forward. This is now a plan and a waiting period in order to get rid of this president. But we've got victory and healing. The Six of Wands and the Six of Swords. Both healing cards. This is the kind of energy that's running through at the moment. So watch for the detail in Bolton's book. It is information that Trump does not want to come out. So even though tens of thousands of copies are in warehouses and the New York Times has a copy and has done stories, what they're going to try and do is prevent that mass kind of publication. It's just going to show such a gross abuse of power, which of course then puts the focus back onto Bolton. Why didn't you come forward? I want to ask, if Bolton had have come forward, would the Republicans have voted a different way? Because I don't think they would have. Let's just see. Had Bolton come forward, would the Republicans voted to impeach Trump? If Bolton had have come forward and testified, of course he offered to testify in the Senate. He said he was waiting for certain things in the House. I feel he was not forthcoming there. I feel he chose not to appear in the House, but he offered to appear before the Senate. And of course, he wasn't called. Republicans didn't want him to give evidence in the Senate. But if he had have given evidence even in the House so that his testimony was on record, and then he would have had to been called as a key witness in the Senate, if he had have done all of that. Okay, so yeah. No, it's almost like he was, I'm just seeing people in bed with one another. That's the image that I'm getting. But in any case, if he had have found his patriotism and come forward and testified, would it have made a difference? No, I'm hearing it wouldn't have. The Nine of Cups, we've got miracles, breakthroughs, wishing on a star. Okay, and here is, again, the Lovers too. This kind of connection that, he still is wedded to the Republican Party. The Queen of Cups, in the challenge position, revelations. Yeah, he would have had a lot of revelations to make. But of course, he was too closely connected to the Republican Party. The Wheel of Fortune, he was waiting for his fortune to change, the wheel to shift. Would he have made a difference? The Queen of Pentacles in the past, he should have. He should have, because the national security has definitely been compromised, and here we have our abuse of power. The abuse of power in this case would have been the Republicans, the Princess of Swords, the truth. He had truth to offer. The Prince of Swords, a harsh truth, but it would have been a loss to the Republican Party. Six of Pentacles, in the hopes and fears. They certainly feared his testimony. The Three of Wands, this is Ukraine. And the Eight of Wands, bringing forward that evidence so quickly. And the Two of Wands, playing the waiting game. So he certainly would have, there would have been evidence there to impeach this president. But because he waited, and because this was, I think it was a deal. Not a deal, let's not say a deal, but it was some kind of understanding that he would keep his I guess, revelations to himself, because it would have forced the Republicans' hands. So what this is telling me, that I can't even, tarot is not even going to give me an answer, woulda, shoulda, coulda, because it wasn't going to happen from the start. This was sort of an understanding. I don't want to drill down now into what conversations he may have had with whom, but this card is telling me it absolutely would have been strong enough evidence, but he decided to wait. And of course, that benefited the Republican Party. So it's not a hypothetical that the cards are entertaining. The Seven of Cups, illusion and delusion. The Eight of Cups, loss. And the Four of Wands, the Democrats. They certainly were at some point very, very worried. Very worried. The King of Swords, very worried about Bolton's testimony. I got that feeling when I was reading on it at the time, that he had very, very strong evidence to bring forward, and lots of it. And I feel that at the time, he may have had discussions with the Republican Party. This is just my impressions only, through the tarot. He got into bed with somebody, and that prevented that testimony coming forward. But now, that's hindsight, isn't it? Now we've got his book. No wonder they're trying to hold it back. It is, it's explosive. All right, so where are we now? I just want to look at, I wanted to do a fuller reading on voter suppression. We saw the beginnings of that, not the beginnings, it's we've seen it in Georgia. I wonder what some of those red states, are they planning? Let's just ask and get an initial look at it, and then I can follow that up with another reading again soon. So are those red states planning? I'll give this another shuffle and then we'll cut the deck. Are they planning voter suppression as a way, as a strategy of holding on to power? Are the Republicans, where in those red states where they've got governors, in any state really, where they've got Republican governors, is voter suppression a tactic that the Republicans are planning to bring forward on November the 3rd? Is voter suppression a tactic that they are planning to bring forward? Look, I just think, to do that would cause a civil war, because the truth has sort of been laid bare. The King of Pentacles, Trump, the King of Pentacles, as a signifier card. And what is he challenged by? The Hanged Man, suspension, nothing moving forward. it would be very difficult, as I saw, for them to do that on a mass scale, particularly if the turnout is overwhelming. The Ten of Swords, something coming to an end. I don't know that. I just have this feeling that by the time we get to November the 3rd, Trump's power, this is the ending of something, just is going to be just not there. The Empress, Russia. So it could, we've got a lot to go before we get there, haven't we? We've got the Empress card is in the past. So this is talking about something around the Supreme Court decisions may mean that this suppression is just impossible to pull off. Let's keep going. The Three of Cups in the sky, what's crowning this reading, are coming together, circles of support. The Hierophant, a higher source. Here I'm getting a pull to the government and to the Supreme Court. So the structures of democracy just won't lend themselves to mass interference in this election. The Lovers in the here and now. This is Donald Trump. Let's see what the atmosphere around loss. Yeah. I feel that by the time we get to the election, more will have come out. These multiple nails in the coffin. Again, this Queen of Pentacles keeps showing up in the hopes and fears. So I think, by the time we get to the election, it's just going to be a different ball game here. We've got the King of Wands, the courageous leader. This is the courts. This is the legislators. This is the House. This is just, I think, the rule of law. And there's that sword that I saw in the ground at the beginning of this question, staked in the ground, standing there, standing strong. And it's almost like that scene in The Lord of the Rings where when Gandalf the wizard puts his staff into the ground against the demon and says, "You shall not pass." That is the kind of energy that I'm getting there. There's going to be a lot of courage shown before we even get to November by a lot of people bringing forward the truth. And the Two of Swords, this is a crossroads card and heavy decisions to be made. And the Seven of Wands, again, Trump is going to be defending, the Republican Party generally are going to be defending themselves. Hard work, 10 of Wands. The Two of Wands. We've got this Two of Wands that keeps coming up in indicating a possible time frame for a new start, around 2 months. So by the time we get to, where are we, June, July, August is going to be a very, very, very interesting month. If you go back to my reading on the next 6 months in the US, August and particularly August, September, are very, very, very important months. So I'm just going to leave it there. And you decide for yourself, use your own intuition with what you see unfolding now. We've had nearly 3.5, 4 years of Republican law, in some ways lawlessness, bending the law, not adhering to democratic principles. Trump, this information, an unwell man, more and more and more coming out, nails in the coffin between now and then. It's a different landscape by the time we get to November to what it was in 2016. So thank you for tuning in. You'll notice this lovely lovely thing I've got here. Thank you again for your support, and also for those astrologers that came on and said, yes, Pluto was retrograde. Of course it was. I knew that when I looked at the chart, but I was reading upside down in the heat of the moment. I slipped up. But those astrologers who came on and, just said, encouraged me and said, that's just great. You've learnt so much in a short time, and were so positive and constructive in their feedback. Thank you again. We're always learning. We're always learning. It doesn't matter how seasoned we are. We're always learning about everything. No qualifications there. Okay, so thank you very much again, and I'll be back with another reading soon. Thank you.